Alright, so we're going to do this example by completing the square. And I also, we're going to change the green there, also letting you know that in your text, example 6 is also completing the square, so there's a second one you can look at there for some help. Alright, so we're going to complete the square just like we did for circles. So let's rewrite this equation, just allowing a little bit of space for some things that we're going to add there. Go. So just rewrote the equation. So now I want to take the coefficient of the x term over to the side, so that's -2. I divide that by 2 and I get -1. And when I square -1 I get +1. So we're going to come back and add 1 to each side. Okay, the left hand side is ready to factor, so that becomes x minus 1 quantity squared. The right hand side is ready to add up. 2 plus 1 is 3. Now I'm ready to use the square root property because I'm ready to square root. So I'm going to square root the left hand side and I'm going to square root the right hand side. So on the left hand side I end up with x minus 1. The right hand side I end up with plus or minus the square root of 3. And now is a really good time to talk about the difference between an exact solution, or an approximate or decimal approximation solution. So approximate solution. Okay, let's do the exact solution first. We'll do that in this color. Alright, so let's do exact solution. So let's pick up from here. X minus 1 equals plus or minus the square root of 3. The square root of 3 is an exact value. If you were to type this in your calculator, you're going to see a whole bunch of decimals, and then you would have to make a rounding decision. When we don't do that, and we leave it as the square root of 3, we consider that to be exact. So I really don't need to break it apart here. I can leave it, and I can just add this 1 to both sides. So that gives me x equals plus or minus the square root of 3 plus 1. I could, if I wanted to, it's up to you, I could break that apart and say x minus 1 equals positive square root of 3 and x minus 1 equals negative square root of 3. And in each case I'm going to add 1 to both sides. So this one I would express as x equals the square root of 3 plus 1. This one I would express as x equals negative the square root of 3 plus 1. So this would be your solution, like that, or perfectly acceptable to express it like that. And this is a exact solution. So now let's change and do the approximate solution. Alright, so let's do this. Let's clear a little bit of space here, and then we'll sneak it in right here. Okay, go back to the pen. Alright, so we ended up with x minus 1 equals plus or minus the square root of 3. So we're going to go ahead and add 1 to both sides. So we have x equals the square root, plus or minus square root of 3 plus 1. So I want to get decimal solutions. So let's break this apart into two separate things. Square root of 3 plus 1, negative square root of 3 plus 1. And if you pick up your calculator and type that in your calculator, you're going to see that the positive square root of 3 plus 1 turns out to be approximately 2.73. Let's just keep some x equals here. X equals, good. And then the negative one, if I type that in my calculator, that turns out to be negative 0.73. And I just rounded them to 2 decimal places. It would just depend on the problem, whatever the problem told you to round it to. Alright, so here's your solution, your approximate solution, or your decimal approximate solution. Alright, so this was approximate. Good, and this other one was exact. Alright, so there's an example of completing the square.